All right, we are live for the midweek edition of the morning check-in, and as always, looking forward to connecting and sharing with you just some things that it's worth paying attention to, as well as giving you my 2 cents on this matter. And hope everyone is doing well. As always, want to make sure we uh, have community participation. So feel free to leave thoughts, ideas, suggestions, whatever it is that tickles your fancy. In the comment section, and I definitely will do a good job of trying to reply as best I can. But as always, looking forward to connecting. And one of the things that really I think is worth focusing on is the fact that within the next 50 or so days, we're going to have a returning president. And outside of the narrative of making America great again, I'm going to be very realistic and critical and cynical and all those words to try to really paint a picture as to how, regardless of what is being said, the math doesn't add up. And so even Elon Musk, who is the world's wealthiest dollar denominated paper holder in reference to the amount of assets that he's been able to accumulate in the USD terms, is out here sounding the warning bell on top of everything else. It's something we're paying attention to. And the fact that, with that being said, a large amount of his followers saw a tweet or post that he put out there, and yet gold and silver prices remain stagnant. But yet again, it's because of the digital distractions that has allowed this to take place. Because if this was not the case, if there was no way for people to be, you know, they're having their attention captured by something relatively new, 15 years and counting, then gold and silver would be at numbers that we couldn't fathom. But to me, that's more of a sign as to how, why, where this particular technology was placed strategically here for what it's doing right now, which is to divert attention. So anyway, looking forward to connecting. As always, looking forward to sharing my 2 cents on things. And I have maybe 15 tabs of just things relevant to today's news, whether it be financial sector, a little bit of geopolitics. We got other things happening in Main Street. And so I want to do my best to share it as best I can. So as always, for those who are plugged in, make sure you guys, let me just make sure I get everything. For those who are plugged in, I never know who's watching. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you subscribe, stay plugged in, so you'll always be notified when videos are put up there or when I decide to go live, so you never miss a live stream. And then also, there is no back and forth unless there's some interaction. So feel free to leave thoughts, ideas, suggestions, as I referenced already. And then for those who find value in the content that I put out, where I try to just grab subject matter and package it up in a way to where it makes sense, hopefully, to just keep you one step ahead of the mainstream narrative. That's all that's meant to do, in hopes of you also heeding some of the instructions, perhaps, and being one step ahead of the majority and putting yourself in the 1% class of those that are obtaining knowledge that allows you to act differently as far as preserving and protecting everything you worked hard for. So feel free, for those who find value, to consider supporting the channel. So as you can see here, donate to RTD. Links in the description here. I take all methods as of now. But anyway, if you want to be a blessing to the channel, feel free to contribute. Any help definitely goes a long way to help sustain this as a, for most part, a one-man show. So appreciate your help with that as well. So I want to just jump right in, man, and not beat the bush and give you the nuts and bolts as to what I believe is worth paying attention to. Because beyond the crypto euphoria, I've done more content on that just because I pay attention to it as a strategic speculator. I can't ignore it. You got to follow the funds, and the funds are being intentionally distributed in that direction. And so definitely, as always, I tell you, hopefully you're ahead of the curve, ahead of the masses, so that you'll reap the rewards first, which will give you time to then do what you got to do, work your strategy, work your plan, so you can be out in time as well, in a in a relatively easy fashion, if I can say that. But anyway, looking forward to having some back and forth, man. It's going to be good. It's going to be a good show as always, man. Trying to bring the heat 100%. So let me just jump right into it and stop wasting time. Give me a second here. Oh my goodness. Okay, so for those who might be new, I never know who might be new. I never know who's new to the community, so I got to always make sure that I provide people with strategies. And so, of course, colonialsmetalsgroup.com/RTD. The link beneath this video here. If you haven't heard of them, you better make sure you do well before things come to a halt. And what I mean by that, the things I'm about to talk about in a minute with this debt, the debt unsustainable. And 2025, barring the crypto stimulus that I'm talking about, things are going to come to a halt. There's going to be a day of reckoning. and Trump is going to have to deal with it. Now, depending on where you stand, I'm praying for his success, but then again, I'm realistic in knowing that things have to change, and as it changes, I want to make sure I'm in gold and silver as my anchor, as my insurance policy. Got to insure yourself against your government, in my personal opinion. But what makes this worthwhile is the fact that colonialsmetalsgroup.com allows people to get the education they need to take proactive steps in diversifying out of the legacy system, which is predominantly bonds and stocks, and actually get a self-directed IRA where you can actually take possession of physically yourself or put it in a depository, gold and silver, where you can actually protect yourself for the long haul. This is a long-term gameplay. But then again, for those who are interested, feel free. Put your information in here, download this guide that's right behind me, get some information, and or call the number beneath me, and you'll be able to connect with the professionals to actually walk you through what's needed to pursue something like this if it's of interest to you, and you will be better off than the majority. And so numbers on the screen here, 888-521-2448. Give them a call, tell them Mike sent you, and just get your questions answered and see if this is a viable product for you, because the clock is ticking. In 2025, from a global perspective, things are going to be revealed, in my opinion. So check them out if you're interested. Okay, also got to continue to make sure I remind people of the importance of the small ways that you can be proactive. And so what I got here on the screen is something that really excites me, because it's great to be able to offer people strategies and suggestions. So here we have the new batch of gold notes that's available that are even more affordable. So there's no excuse not to be able to get a hold of 24 karat gold backs that can help protect and preserve. And of course, from a price perspective, there is a premium to this, because this is a relatively newer product in the form of putting gold inside of a note. And so that is the epitome of gold backed, because it's inside the note. So as you can see around me here, there's a variety of denominations or weights available. You got the half note, which is new. You got the 1, you got the 2, you got the 5 and the 10. These are the cheapest ways to actually get something, however you choose to, as insurance against a dying currency. And it's going to play into what I'm about to talk about. So if you're interested, click the link in the description. Go to buygoldnotes.com. It'll take you right here. Do what you got to do. As I say, redeem some of these things so you can get you some stacks at ease, if that's of interest to you. Just a solution, just a strategy. Do what you got to do with it. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's jump into the nuts and bolts of this discussion today. All right, if you haven't already, hit the thumbs up, hit the check mark, show some love for the channel. The algorithms definitely can help, possibly. No guarantees, but at this point, I'm going to keep plugging along anyway. Okay, so what caught my attention? Here we have Elon Musk. Let me get this set up here so you guys can see what I see. Here we have Elon Musk out here tweeting something that caught my attention, just because, as you can see here, America is headed for a de facto bankruptcy fast. So here you have what has been presented to us as the wealthiest human being on this planet, telling his followers that America is headed for a very nasty day of reckoning. And so this tweet here, let me show you here. This tweet here, it got 32 million views. And this was yesterday at 8:37 in the morning. And what really stood out to me is the fact that you would think if 32 million people were just given some information, it's nothing new for those to pay attention to it, because you guys, of course, are already positioned. But I'm thinking, like, there's 32 million people that don't know what's really going on. And when a statement like that is made, in any other time, barring the last 15 years, and I say 15 years because that has been the time frame in which Satoshi Nakamoto came into existence, the NSA collaboration with the government, to be truthful. You know that. But anyway, and created this invention that has been a distraction and a diversion tactic strategically at this right moment in time and space. Okay, it is what it is. There's no point in crying over spilled milk. But then again, I have to highlight how there has been no coincidences. This is all intentional. You know that. And that the goal is for this information to get to the people who don't know that. And that's why it's your responsibility, in my opinion. I'm putting it on you to tell the American public by sharing this video so they can hear this, dissect it, find out if it's true or not. When they do their own research, dismiss it or act accordingly. And act accordingly in reference to doing things contrary to conventional wisdom, which would be working harder, saving more fiat, putting more in your retirement account at the same time everything is in a bubble and bound to blow. Okay. But the reason I wanted to start off with this is just because Elon Musk, the wealthiest. Let me just show you how much Elon is sitting on. Let me switch it up a little bit because I'm like, okay, like I know he's the wealthiest. His wealth is a lot different than the average person. And so let me give me a second. Let me okay, so here's what I did just out of curiosity because I know this guy's getting paper on top of paper. And it's not because he's been strategically placed here with the government's help. Put it like that. Okay. So let's look at some figures and I'll move on just because I'm making a point here. The world's 10 richest people, the wealthiest have 100 billion or more. And this new all-time high of billionaires was helped by the governments of the world. But what makes these guys different is the fact that they own things the world needs. You want to position yourself that can be above and beyond any reset, any depression, any recession. Own the things the world needs or runs to when stuff hits the fan, and you're gonna always get broken off. Okay, just a little nugget for those. Okay, but real quick, I don't want to keep ranting forever. So number 10, number uno. Let me show you number uno. Numero uno is Elon Musk at 32 billion. Can you count the number of zeros that come after this zero here? And born in South Africa, he's not even from this country, but he getting that bread. Musk made a small fortune from PayPal, then X, SpaceX, whatever. You guys know. Jeff Bezos, 235. Mark Zuckerberg, 205. Larry Ellison, 203. Bernard Arnault, 164. Bill Gates, 162. Okay, whatever. Okay. Ain't no point in talking about those guys' money. But the point is, when you have Elon Musk, the wealthiest on paper terms, mentioning that he's concerned, he's not concerned from the same standpoint that you and I am concerned, because our lifestyles are predicated on this currency. Whereas in him being an international mogul and business owner in collaboration with governments, he owns Tesla, SpaceX, Twitter or X, whatever it's called, and countless other things that we may not know about is in his portfolio, to where it doesn't matter what happens to the currency, long as his doors stay open and business remains operational, whatever currency comes next, he gonna still pick up where he left off at. So he's good. But it's just the fact that he's been presenting himself as this, like, truth teller that's trying to help the human race out. Is like, come on now. But let's get into it. So the reason I want to start off with this is because of the details as to what is contained within the tweet that he shared. And if I bring it up here, so let me just give it to you straight. It says America's headed for the facto to bankruptcy. Okay, so this is a retweet from Wall Street Mavericks. And so it says here, let me just click on this one so you can see what I see. It says U.S. government brings in about $5 trillion per year in revenue from taxes, fees, and tariffs. 5. The U.S. government is on pace to spend about 1.4 trillion just for interest payments. Interest. We don't even talk about principal. No point. There's not enough currency in existence to pay that back. We're just focusing on interest. On the 36 trillion in debt during Trump's first year. So not only was Trump a part of this fiasco that the world is experiencing from his previous term, but he's going to pick up during his second tenure, and it's even worse. So this plays into the fact where he needs some distractions. He needs some diversion tactics. Whoever Trump economic team is, their best, I bet you they all have a solution or a strategy to divert your attention off of what's true, tried, and tested in the form of gold, because they don't want the American people to really be protected. They just want to be the solution and the strategy as to how they are going to reset things by rebranding the currency and bringing in their predetermined solutions. We're already in the digital world, but it's about to get even uglier after this next event. I keep saying the same thing because people, everybody should see it. And if the majority of people saw it, if the 32, watch this, if the 32 million viewers of this post retweet from Elon Musk saw this. Let me tell you what would have happened if the majority knew what would have happened. Here on the screen, gold and silver would not be at 26.50 and silver would not be at 31.21, because as of yesterday when this went out, a majority of people knew what was at stake here, which is their hard-earned currency. Everything denominated in their currency is at stake here. Gold and silver would have responded had it not been for digital distractions. But what did respond instead? The digital distractions. And so once again, as a speculator, you got to be on the receiving end of these intentional strategies that's being done by the powers that be. The principalities and powers are at work, and you better believe that these figures on the screen are small compared to where they want them to go, so that gold and silver don't go that way. Because if it does, game, set, match, and they won't be able to execute this reset. So, with that being the case, gold and silver, I expect somewhat of a cooling off period beyond these figures here. And so I can see the numbers going down a little bit. But then again, having insurance is not about taking advantage of your policy now, it's after the cards come tumbling down. It's after the house burns down, relatively speaking. That's when the premium is going to be, that's when the policy will be most useful to you, is after. So that gives us time, in my opinion, or this is just me talking to myself, to strategize and to speculate a little bit so that I can increase my insurance policy so that after the house burns down, relatively speaking, figuratively speaking, then my policy will be that much larger. That's just me. Okay. So what am I talking about here? You know what it is. This image right here, my favorite image of all time. I'm going to use this more and more and more. If you guys want to copy, screen share this, boom, send it out to your family, friends, and say, look what Biden and Trump and Kamala Harris and everybody else who's in the political realm would have been faced with. So it don't matter who wins. We got Democrats and Republicans on here. They're one and the same when it comes to being compromised. And so literally what we're up against is the fact that we're working on maybe 2 cents of a dollar. And so we're going to find out what's left in this 2 cents under this man's term. Under President Trump, soon to be President Trump, we're going to find out what 2 cents can get you. And I guarantee it won't get you no more than it did yesterday, but get you less. Because this guy right here will not be putting no purchasing power back into this note. He's going to be a part of rebranding it to a digital form solely. And so this crypto pump that I'm talking about, this is going to be used as his administration's way of countering that second wave of inflation that's going to start heavy in January. And so just a little side note. Okay, so with all that out of the way, as I mentioned, I'm everywhere, but trying to get to the same point. On the screen here, we got the national debt, 150-year U.S. national debt. And from this moment on, let me get myself out the way. From this moment on, as you guys can see right here, from this moment on, the game changed. Game, set, and match. Now it's a matter of like, okay, how can they bring this thing down for a smooth landing? As Jerome Powell talked about, soft landing. What's her name? What's the chick name? Janet Yellen's. I see a soft landing in our future. What I've mentioned and what is predicted on here, the higher that this debt situation goes, that's a crash and burn. That's not a landing. That's a crash and burn. That's going to be casualties. It's going to be massive casualties. And it's all denominated in this instrument right here. And so when Elon Musk goes on and talking about the debt and gold and silver don't move, that's just a sign that we got more time to accumulate more, because they are not done manipulating metals yet. And so come this year, Donald Trump's budget, that will be about 28% of the government revenue going into interest payments. So whatever budget Donald Trump is going to be working with, he's going to need more debt. So this Doge trying to, trim some of the fat off of excess expenditures, they're going to need more than 2 trillion, buddy, just to try to keep pace with our interest payments, because that's not including the additional debt needed to just sustain our obligations. You know what I'm talking about? Okay. So to wrap all this up here, debt's going to go higher. Majority of people are not going to find out about why, how, what to do. Gold and silver will remain stagnant, if not go down a little bit, barring some type of intervention from the East, where we have China, Russia talking about doing some things. But Here's another thing that should concern you. When you have China, which was 2 weeks ago, their court ruling says that Bitcoin and digital assets are property. That was a win for the digital asset community. I wonder why. Why would China okay something that goes against what they're trying to do in a communist nature state where they want to control everything, unless they know something as well? Unless behind the scenes they're working along with the digital transformation, and they want people to continue to go that way and not solely focus on insurance policies against the currency. And then Russia. Let me give it to you straight right now. Here we have let me where's it at? Let me get it on the screen here if I can. Here we have some comments from Putin just today, and you won't be able to hear the audio, but if you listen to it, he's like bigging up the idea that Bitcoin can't be stopped. And that type of technology is beyond government. So he's audibly saying out of his mouth what would be considered typically as like the kryptonite to the government regime. And he's doing it with like, okay, a pro optimistic viewpoint on the technology. So this is not like anti-dollar talk. This is like anti-ruble talk, because ruble right now is not doing good either. And so it's like, okay, why would he also? So China 2 weeks ago makes it digital property. And then let me get it on the screen here if I can. Let me see if I can find it. And then this was an article highlighting how Russia is now like pro digital currency as well. Putin signs a law declaring crypto as property. So China made it property 2 weeks ago. Russia made it property. This was like a week ago, I think. And so it's like, no, this was November 29th. Putin comes out and makes it property. So it's like they're providing the cover for people to look at it as like, man, they're coming to the light. They're coming to their senses. They know they can't stop it, so they're going to make it good for us to have it. Okay. Once again, Xi, Putin, Biden, Trump, Putin more so than anybody else, he'll mention gold, or his central bank has bought gold. But once again, crypto is the new fad and people love it. So you can argue against it, or you can take advantage of the opportunities. Okay. But that's just that on that front there. Let's keep it moving. What else I want to get into? I have a couple other things worth bringing to your attention. Let's talk about here's something that let me see if I can find it. This is funny. I find this funny. This is in the line of Bitcoin. Another little, this is another I told you so moment. Here we have New York Mayor Eric Adams gloats about Bitcoin paychecks amid a 129% surge. And he said, "Who's laughing now?" Literally, this is his quote during a press conference where, because he took his salary in Bitcoin 2 years ago, I think it was, at that time, people scoffed at it. And so since then, since January 29, when Adams assumed office, give me a second here. In January 2022, when Adams assumed office, he received his first 3 paychecks in Bitcoin and Ether. But once again, they didn't mention it. They didn't highlight the Ether part. They just talk about it. Ether never really did much. But that was approximately 30,000 in cryptocurrency, according to Hellgate. On Tuesday, Adams declined to disclose how much crypto he holds, but his Bitcoin holdings were somewhere around 5,000 to 5,000, whatever, at the end of 2009, whatever. So, does he still have it? Did he sell it when it reached its relative all-time high? Who knows? But I thought this was interesting that just more focus on Bitcoin. Wow. Good old gold and silver just stays there and just sits in vaults and do nothing, because the mainstream media can't highlight its usefulness against fiat currencies, which is fine. Manipulation is your friend, as I always say. Okay, a couple other things here. Let me see. There's some other couple hot topics here. Unfortunately, bad news. I don't like to talk about bad news, but it's just things that is trending. And so here we have CEO of United Healthcare is fatally shot in Midtown Manhattan. So this gentleman was unfortunately assassinated. And I read briefly, I didn't get a chance to go through it, but he was heading somewhere of importance. And between waking up, making his way to his final destination, he was intersected in between that, unfortunately, and no longer in the land of the living. He was 50 years old, shot at 6:45 and he's gone. And so whenever things like this happen, you always know that there's a greater story behind it. And of course, we'll find out after the fact. I'm sure some people probably dug deep already, but whatever it is, it was designed to cover up something or to keep him from actually opening his mouth further about something. And they decided to cancel his contract. So it's unfortunate, but hopefully his soul was in good hands in Yeshua the Mashiach, and he's in paradise right now. If that was the case, God bless his soul. Okay, keeping it moving. Cyber events are still on the table. Here we have telcos struggles to boot Chinese hackers from networks. So this was as of yesterday, and this has a lot to do with Western communications. China linked spies are still lurking inside U.S. telecommunications network, roughly 6 months after American officials started investigating the intrusion. So this is the framework that's being set up. They first highlighted that Chinese hackers were able to gain access to U.S. telecommunications. So that's Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, all the stuff like that. There's been glitches all throughout the last couple months. We talked about it. And the fact that they have infiltrated it, they've laid some malware, spyware, or something. And I guess our guys, we got the most sophisticated intelligence, along with, Israeli. But the Five Eyes in general can't come to the conclusion to find out what doesn't belong in the code, what doesn't belong in the actual software itself, and extract it. Or this is just them laying a framework for what could come during Trump's presidency if things get out of hand, or if they want to just throw some wrinkles in his plans. Oops, a cyber event. Everybody, this is just me going far left field. You know how I do it. But an event happens. They already got everything ready to roll out. All the product, services, and companies have already been positioned. All the billionaires already invested into their stock portfolio a while ago. So now when the event hit, the government comes out, we need to, $2 trillion, $3 trillion back against this. Then those same companies that the billion and Congress already bought over the roof, they make bread. They give us some type of free service. The government's here to protect you. Download this app, and you'll have access to communications within that spyware itself. You see how this goes. So anyway, let me keep it moving if I can, because it looks like I might be on the glitch side just a little bit. But okay, so with that being the case, I'm about to get rid of my things down. We're already over, about coming to my stop time. But just some things worth touching on. I think there's a lot more stuff to talk about. But I just think the fact that Elon Musk is out here spilling beans, and he accordingly his valuation of net worth is 320 billion of USD at the same time that good old Donald. That's why him and Donald have become best friends. They were not good friends during his first term, but every time you see Trump, you see Elon. You got two billionaires working together. Now, you could be optimistic and say, oh, they're going to make America great. They're working in our best interest. Or you could say they're both working, for higher powers, and they're going to walk away from all this richer than ever, which is what will happen. They won't leave from making America great again broke. That's for sure. But what do we get out of all this? 98% and decreasing. That's what we're going to get. Because once again, nothing can be done to put any more purchasing power directly into your pocket. The only thing they can give you is buying power from appreciating assets, in this form now, cryptocurrencies. And then after everything breaks, as an insurance policy, gold and silver will respond favorably, and then you'll be better off then. But that's all on you to do. It's not because the government's coming in to save the day. So if you know that, and if you're taking steps to position yourself as best as you know how, you'll be better than the other 99.99% of society that has no clue. And with that being the case, that's all she wrote for the day. Hopefully, throughout some of this back and forth, throughout some of this ranting, there was some nuggets delivered that put you in a better position to take on the day and to position yourself. Add to your insurance policy if you can. And if you're speculating, know how to get in and get out the right way, to then take some of those gains and add to your insurance policy, and or pay down some debt, freeing yourself from the man, and go that way. So it's a cycle. This is the opportunity. This, I believe, is the pre-stimulus package. that's being afforded to those who know what they're doing and how to do it before the real stimulus comes in the form of UBI. But anyway, with that being the case, people, be blessed, be safe, and catch you guys later. Shalom.